kind of escape, mount escapes this week. I'll then borrow you, Ernest.
What happened to your pants? The white
See all this construction going on?
No,
record. I want people to see what Khaled is my most hated student. I don't have favorites. I don't have favorites, but Khaled is my most hated student.
Only for safety.
You're not allowed to talk until you tie your belt correctly. Don't worry, Kirk. I'm pretend I didn't see that. All right. So our opponent mounted us. Life sucks, right? This mount escape is going to work when your opponent their posture's broken. They might not necessarily put their hands on the mat. They might be hugging your head or whatever, right? So if he's hugging my head, but just like hugging my head, yeah. If he's hugging my head, that eliminates a lot of my escapes. It's hard to bridge because he's kind of connecting to me, and it's hard to hit a shrimp. If I want to go to my left and he's cross facing me to the right, it's kind of hard to escape that way, right? So we're gonna do a couple of kipping escapes from here. I'm gonna break it down into steps. I'm gonna add a little bit more detail each time. Number one, basic principles: keep your neck protected, keep your elbows in close to your body. Okay? I'm gonna take the heels of my palm and get it right beneath this belt, right where his hip bone is. Okay? The first one we're gonna do, I'm gonna try to do this as slowly as possible. I lift up my hips, and at the apex of my lift, I lock my arms up, just like I'm escaping side control. I am not bench pressing my opponent. I'm not lifting my opponent off me. Okay? I'm going to bump my hips up, lock my arms out, and then drop my hips. And hopefully a frame will appear here. Okay, so let me do that again. Again, this is not the way you're going to do it. I'm just showing you the principle. Right? 1, 2. And your knees come in. Now, we're going to add 2 more details. I'm not going to go straight to the sky. I'm going to push off on an angle. It can be extreme, it can be slight, that's up to you. So I'm not going straight up like that. I'm going to go off to a side. Your opponent's not going to fall like that. But I want you off to a side. Number 3, if you get stuck, you're going to start kipping. So let me show you the kipping without going on an angle first, just to make it simple. So here, I get stuck, right? I'm going to kick until I get my knees back in. Okay? It's easier if you go to the side. Again, I'll try and do this as slowly as possible. I buck to a side, lock my arms out, but I still haven't escaped, right? I'm going to flipper kick until my knees come back in. Every time you flipper kick, your hips are doing this. And that's going to allow you to create more and more space with your momentum until your knees come back in. Any questions? No. A lot of you guys are having trouble with the flipper kick in one of 2 ways I saw on Wednesday. Some of you guys are doing this. You're just doing quad extensions, right? It has to be violent enough to get a reaction, like an explosive reaction off the hip. Some of you other guys were doing this. That neither one gets my hips where I need to be. Okay, so think of being able to generate enough momentum to have your hips leave the ground. Except you're actually going to be going in the opposite direction because you're pushing off something. Cool? Does that make sense, Khaled?
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. All right, any questions? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Go.
Welcome back, guys. We got Khaled on the bottom, Dave on top here, working that kipping escape. Look like Khaled is halfway through it already. He's going straight up to the sky. I'd like to see him on an angle a little bit, make life a little bit easier. For Nogi, you could start going into like leg entanglements and things like that. So he gets out onto an angle, gets his left knee in, and he hits the escape. Pretty good. I'd like to see him flipper kick a little bit more. The guys are struggling a little bit with the concept of how and when and how hard to hit the flipper kick, for lack of a better word. Okay, right now Cal is basically just wiggling side to side. Remember, when you want to do the leg swinging version, you want to make the letter U with your legs, get that momentum going. Right now, he's just waving side to side. He's not getting very far. Looks like he's trying to tank it into something. Oh, is it going back to it? Yeah, he's just wiggling side to side. Still just wiggling side to side. And you can see that his upper body... Oh, there we go. That was actually a pretty good combination. Went from side to side, and then he went for the bridging one. Khaled resets. Goes to the leg one. Yeah, look, he's just wiggling side to side. He's not actually generating any momentum with his legs, which is the whole point of using your legs. Again, if you want to use your legs, you're going to make the letter U, and every time you come to the apex on either side, get Khaled on the bottom again, Dave on top. Probably a different round. Khaled starts initiating escape. Yeah, again, he's just kind of flopping side to side, not making the letter U. So, of course, if you do the technique incorrectly, it's going to be hard to straighten out your arms. Dave's being nice. He's giving him a little bit of room. I think I tell Khaled to start making the letter. That's a little bit better. Okay, he started making the letter U, but now he's just going back to side to side. There we go. See that? Big difference between what he was doing and what he was doing at the end, which was actually correct, making the letter U to get his arms straight. Using the legs correctly on that one. Let's see which one he does now. Okay, I'd like to see the legs come in a little bit sooner. Like, he was just kind of holding him there for no reason. I mean, he's still holding him there for no reason. Got to bring a leg in as soon as possible. Get as many frames in between you and your opponent as possible. So once you hit the bump, legs come in immediately. Good. Now you can start escaping. Nice. Now I got the opposite situation. Khaled's on top and Dave is on the bottom hitting the escape. See how it goes. Dave's got a good grip on the pants here. Bumps, gets the knee in off to the side, and the ending was a little bit iffy. Like, I mean, honestly, Khaled could probably just pass the guard this way a little bit, but he got the main objective, which is get your opponent off of you, off the mount, I should say. I would just like him to be a little bit more vigilant with his actual recovery. Overall, not bad. Got Christian on top, Dave on the bottom. Looks like Dave's kind of halfway through an escape already. Well, maybe not. Gets his hands under in the good position. It's the bump. All right, that's another scenario that's going to happen. You're actually going to manage to take your opponent over. I wouldn't rely on it, especially, you know, past white belt. These guys are all literally like month 1, month 2 white belts. So it's kind of easy for, you know, to roll your opponent, relatively speaking. Would not rely on it. But, hey, if it happens, take it. Got Chris on top and Ernest on the bottom here. Slap bump, and now they're off to the mount escape. Looks like they're sparring now. I don't think they're letting each other work. I think he's trying to hold him in that mount position. Maybe even launching attacks. First thing I would do if I was Ernest is to get my grips back, just like anything else. Might be able to hit a shrimp escape from here. I forget if I told him they were only allowed to do the kipping escape. Oh, maybe not. Maybe going for the shrimp escape. All right, there's the ankle. There we go. Oh, missed the rest of it, but he was on his way out. Ernest on top and Dave on the bottom here, running the escapes. Okay, so now the person on top is allowed to launch submissions and is allowed to maintain position at 100% resistance. So Ernest is doing a little tricky lapel choke here. Dave is ill-advised going for a choke on the bottom. Again, your only priority from the bottom is to escape, as far as I'm concerned, especially a white belt. I've never seen a more white belt thing in my entire life. I have no idea what's going on. It ain't jiu-jitsu, though. Or it is not good jiu-jitsu, I should say. All right, so Dave actually does get the escape there. But again, that was some white belt shit if I ever saw it. Look, I almost called him Logan. Ernest goes for a one-sided lapel choke, and Dave goes for a cross-collar choke from the bottom. Not even a good attempt. Good God. I hate making fun of white belts because it's low-hanging fruit. But, man, this isn't low-hanging fruit. This is fruit that's, like, on the ground already. You almost have to dig it up. That is just the most white belt shit I've ever seen in my entire life. Hey, but you got to start somewhere, right? Hey, still got the escape. Looks like Christian on top. I can tell because I think his pants were on backwards that day. I have no idea who's on the bottom. But they're running the escape either way. So Christian doing a good job keeping his center of gravity low. It's almost smothering. Oh, it looks like Ernest is on the bottom. Almost like a smother mount position. He doesn't have the arm quite trapped, but he is staying low. That way, if Ernest went to buck him, it'd be a little bit harder, especially with his arms wide, which he doesn't have now, I'm just saying. But it'd be harder to get rolled off with his arms in position. All right, I want to stop right here. That is an illegal grip on Ernest's part for those of you who are interested in competing. You are not allowed to stick your fingers inside someone's gi. You could be right on the edge and then curl the edge in. That's okay. I think Ernest grabbed with his fingers inside the gi, so that would be a warning. Or maybe I think I tell him right now that you can't grab directly inside someone's gi. Again, you could curl the edge of their gi like that. If he's curling the edge of their gi inside, that's okay, but you can't directly stick your fingers inside. Ernest is interested in competing. By the time this video comes out, he'll probably have competed once or twice already. So that's why I was being a little bit more of a stickler. A more even bodyweight matchup with Khaled on top here and Dave on the bottom. Hitting that mount escape. Person on top is allowed to attack. But their main priority, we're just running 1 minute drills. Their main priority is to stay in mount. If they get an attack from there, great. But if not, if you just stay on top for a minute, they've won the match. Dave doing a good job getting off this. And look at all that daylight. Dave should be shrimping back like crazy and trying to stick a knee or a limb through that gap. He should be gone. Looks like he's trying, but look, we see his hips stay in the same spot. Your hips should be moving back like a madman. That's the whole point of bridging, right? The whole point of shrimping. The whole point of shrimping is not to push your opponent away. It's to frame off your opponent and move yourself away most of the time. Dave does manage to get his knee in, but it looks like Khaled manages to pass to the other side. Running the same technique on a no-gi day. We got John on top and Khaled on the bottom here. Khaled with a great bridge. That was awesome. He's got to take him. Okay, I don't know. I have no idea what he's doing with his legs now. It's like he's trying to flipper kick, but let's watch that again. So he gets a great initial bridge, but instead of using his legs effectively, he's like mermaid kicking. But like I said, I guess you got to start somewhere, right? I think we all had a good laugh about it. So hopefully he realizes what he did wrong. Got John on top, and I think Chris on the bottom here. We'll see how it goes. Oh, good leg swings. That's what I'm talking about. As he's swinging, he should be straightening out his arms. Every time he swings it, there we go. Hey, there we go. Hey, that was a great demonstration. Let's look at that again of what I wanted. So he manages to straighten his arms as he goes side to side. Gets to his apex, starts flipper kicking, gets his leg in or his opponent away, however you want to look at it. And he gets kind of the half guard on the way down. I'd like to see him secure the guard a little bit more, but he got the initial escape. Okay, we got Chris on top here and John on the bottom here. Looks like they're already halfway through an escape, so we won't count that one. They're going to reset back to the mount. And John's going for the kipping escape, or any escape, I believe. Got his arms locked out, but they're not. Okay, now they're in somewhat a right position. There we go, not bad. Chris held on a little bit too long and he ended up flopping over. But if you see towards the end, John gets that flipper kick action going right about there, correct? And manages to get Chris over. At the very least, he would have been able to escape the mount. John on top and Nate on the bottom here. Nate's got his hands in, elbows in. Oh, good bridge. Gets his knees in. Oh, he does like a super lift. That Rose wrestler instincts are kicking in. Again, gets his hands in position. Big bump. He could have gotten to the half guard there. Let's rewind that for a second. Gets a big bump. Or did I pass it already? I think I passed it already. Here. Sorry. I'm going to pause it where he could have recovered the guard. Gets a big bump. Knees come in. Okay. He's really got John lifted overhead. Even if he didn't flip John completely onto his back this way, which I'm not saying he should do, he could have brought his knees in very easily. But he missed that opportunity, and John just kind of settles back into the mount here. I'd like to see him also take his opponent off on an angle as well, not pushing straight up. Nothing wrong with pushing straight up, but you'll have a little bit more success going off on an angle because then you could actually physically move your hips back further. Excuse me. Again, he's having good success getting his opponent off that initial bridge, but then he's letting his opponent settle back down. One reason is because he's not off on an angle. Another is he's not bringing his knees inside. There we go. Now he's got his knees inside. Now he can make a guard position. Again, the whole idea of an escape, bring as many frames in between you and your opponent as possible. We got the reverse situation now. Nate is on top and John is on the bottom here. They're in the middle. John gets a complete reversal. That was pretty good. Now, John does have a significant size difference, but he's getting pretty good lifts off that initial bridge. Like seeing that. Okay, he's just like bench pressing Nate off him now. I'd like to see him use his lower body a little bit more. He's getting away with it because he's so much bigger. But pretty good escapes. Okay, let's go back and look at that one because I like what Nate did with his legs. So Nate's starting to make adjustments now. Boom. You see Nate's legs. They're kind of hooked underneath John's legs right now. He's not grapevining them, but now John just can't simply lift him over with his arm strength because Nate's heels are going to get caught underneath his hamstring. So watch the adjustment that John makes once he notices that. Boom, he gets caught, right? So he notices that he can no longer just bench press his way out of the escape. So he starts to, I don't know if you saw that, but he did like a mini flipper kick with that kipping escape and gets Nate off of him. Easy peasy. There we go. There's a flipper kick again. Again, all my white belts are holding on a little bit too much on top, but again, this is just because we're working the drill. Got Nate on top and John on the bottom again. Looks like they're in the middle of an escape. Let's see, we reset back to 0. John gets his hands under. Doing a pretty good job getting Nate off. Okay, we got Bob on top and John on the bottom. I believe they're sparring now. So the person on top is allowed to go for submissions, and they're allowed to 100% maintain that position. Bob isolates an arm. So he's going for a high key lock. Hey, pretty good. Okay, and he was so fixated on the high key lock that he got rolled to that side. So again, going for submissions, great, but again, as a white belt, your priority should be to maintain that top position. I always tell my new white belts, worry about competition later, treat it like a street fight. Be the guy on top. Same thing, Bob on top, John on the bottom, running 100% escape and resistance now. Okay, not bad. Let's look at that again. John gets that stiff arm position, starts flipper kicking. You'll notice that Bob has his right hand connected to John's head here. That's not really going to help him too much in this situation. Right now, what Bob needs to do is maintain, I would argue, is to start attacking. You can't see John's other arm, but to start attacking John's grips to start breaking that post on his hip, or else this happens. Got Khaled on top and John on the bottom here. See, Khaled's doing a very good job addressing the problem. So he felt that John was initially going for that kipping escape, which requires posts on your hips. Immediately starts attacking the post. Let's see how John adjusts. John adjusts by turning into a shrimp. Excellent. So he couldn't get the post on the hips. You notice that? Look at John's left hand. Goes down to the knee and boom, bridges right into a shrimp escape. Good adjustments by both gentlemen. Got Bob on the top and it looks like Chris on the bottom here. Again, I believe they're going 100% resistance, so Bob's going for the submission, and Chris is trying to escape as much as possible. Oh, Bob might be able to make a play for the back here. Chris is turning pretty extreme without confirming that front side leg if he wants to shrimp. Yeah, if I were Bob, I'd make a play for the back here. He's got the outside angle on Chris's arm. Chris does not have any of his legs trapped. Bob doing a very good job controlling him here. He could go for an armbar. He could go for the back. Got Bob on top and Nate on the bottom here. Oh, that was beautiful. Okay, let's look at that again. So Bob doing a good job attacking Nate's post, but boom, Nate manages to get a split second of his hands where they need to be. He doesn't hesitate, immediately goes for that high bridge. Boom, keeps Bob elevated, and he manages to sneak his knees inside. Excellent. From here, he starts to take him off at an angle. He's got the hard work done. He's got his knees in between him and Bob. Manages to make a guard position. Uh-oh, he's fucking up here. Yeah, I don't know what happened at the end. I think his wrestler instincts took over. He didn't make a guard position, but right about here, he could have pulled him into the guard. He pushed away for some reason. Again, I would prefer that he pulls him into the guard first and then starts getting offensive. We are back in the gi, and Kirk is on top, and Ernest is on the bottom, still working the same escapes. Looks like they're just drilling, not really sparring yet. Gets a leg inside and turns into like a single leg X situation almost. Important part is, I don't care what situation they end up in at the moment. I just want them to escape. Elevates, knee inside, butterfly guard this time. I don't know what they're discussing right now. Yeah, I'd rather they lift their opponents off on an angle. Everybody's going straight to the sky right now. I have no idea what this discussion was about. We got Bob on top and Kirk on the bottom. I'd like to see Kirk's elbows on the inside of Bob's legs if you can. Does a good job getting off onto the side, though. I feel like Bob kind of let him have it a little bit too easy in terms of rolling him over. But again, not too bad. I would like the elbows inside. You see where Kirk's elbows are on the outside of Bob's knee. If possible, I'd prefer them on the inside. That might not be possible, depending on how big you are relative to your opponent, though. He's got to get way more violent with that lift, start flipper kicking, and knees inside. Need to get one more in. Was inside. Bob is on top. Oh, sorry. Ernest is on top. Bob is on the bottom. Very good lift from Bob. Again, I'd like to see him off on his side a little bit more. Elbows in. There we go. Boost, really boost up. Flipper kicks. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's kind of a slow motion version of what I was looking for. I'd like to see him initially push off to the side if he can, like as he gets to the apex of his bridge. I want to see his hips drop to the side. I'd like to see his elbows on the inside as well. There we go. Now we made that adjustment. Boom. Start flipper kicking off to the side. Elbows inside. Now is when he'd start flipper kicking. He's trying to support Ernest's weight too long. Yeah, like he's literally holding him there with his arms. You're not going to be able to hold your opponent there, like kind of like Bob's trying to right now. You got to move immediately. As soon as you start bridge, or as soon as you get to the apex of your bridge, you got to make a decision. Am I shrimping back? Am I flipper kicking? Or am I doing both? Yeah, even there, I would argue he's holding on too long. Again, decide what you're going to do and stick to it. It might be the wrong decision, might be the right decision, especially a white belt. But I always say the worst decision is no decision. Got Max on the bottom and Khaled on top here. Max's arms are out of position right now. There we go. They're by the hips now. He's trying to leg swing version. Goes back to the bridge. There we go. Gets his knees inside. That's an escape. That's pretty good. I'd like to see him use his legs a little bit sooner, as soon as they're in position. Again, using your arms is great. Using your legs is better. So now he's got his arms in. He's a big bridge. Shrimp. Flipper kick. There we go. Obviously, Khaled's working with him. There's like a 100-pound weight difference here. Pretty good. I must have told him something. I forget what I told him. I think maybe go off to the side. Big bridge. He's off to the side now. Now brings his legs inside. Got Khaled on top. Or sorry, Khaled on the bottom. Kirk on top. Oh, that was a very good swing by Kirk. By Khaled. I mean, the K's are getting me confused. That was very good. Not sure what Khaled was thinking about there. Excuse our appearance. Our painting isn't all done yet. By the time you see this video, the painting will have been done. So the next couple videos, the gym should be completely painted and brand new, and it will also be officially open, which is April 3rd. Let's look at why that one failed. Khaled is doing all this work. He's got his arms straight, but again, he's flat on his back trying to shrimp. He has nowhere to go. If you're shrimping into the ground, you have nowhere to go. You want to shrimp to the side so you could freeze your opponent where they are and your hips move away. But again, I want to reiterate to these guys and for you guys watching, try and take your opponent off on an angle. So here, he should be on an angle right now. He's trying to flipper kick straight to his... There we go. Now he's on an angle a little bit. Not enough, though. He's turning himself. He's not turning his opponent, though, which is an even worse proposition. You got to take your opponent on an angle as well. I think I'm telling him as much. No, he's just like... he's actually not turning on an angle. He's just kind of turning his head. Easier said than done, but try and get your opponent... So again, you could see right now that he's just making a straight line to the sky. When he makes that initial bridge, or even after he makes the initial bridge, you should be trying to angle out. That way he could shrimp out this way instead of straight into the floor where you're just flipper kicking in the air. Got Kirk on the bottom and Khaled on top this time. Kirk's elbows are relatively inside this time. See if it works out. Gets an initial bridge. Flipper kicks his way inside. I feel like Khaled was being a little bit nice on that one. That's right. That's the point of drilling, where you don't want to murder your partner from the get-go. You want to let them make small mistakes and kind of correct them until they can do it to you at 100% resistance. Yeah, that leg swing did not work out well for Kirk. First of all, I would argue his elbows are outside. Love white belts giving other white belts advice. So Kirk's got to fix a structural issue. Look where his elbows are. Look. Next time you bench press, try bench pressing with your elbows out and your hands in. Makes it immediately more difficult. I need Kirk's elbows on the inside so his arm is like a straight line from the floor to the ceiling in terms of his forearms. Oops, sorry. That was pretty good. He's got to keep that momentum going. I would argue he cut the momentum a little bit too soon. And more white belt advice here. Love to see white belt advice. There we go. I have no idea what he's doing. There's a little bit of a disconnect there. Kirk on top, Ernest on the bottom. Looking over at something funny. All right, so this is when you would use a kipping escape, was when Kirk was doing just that, smothering him. Okay, so it looks like now they're going 100% resistance. Ernest comes over, he's trying to get that leg into the shrimp. Kirk doing a good job adjusting. He's giving a little bit too much space, though. Oh, there we go. Looks like he's trying to expose that elbow for an armbar. He's trying to expose that elbow for an armbar. Oh, very good. Hey, very good. He's way too far for an armbar, but it was good to take out Josh on top and Ernest on the bottom. Probably 100% resistance here. I don't know what they're discussing. The instructions weren't that difficult. All right, hopefully they got the parameters down now. Josh doing a good job staying glued up top. Ernest looks like he's going for that kipping escape. Can't quite get the space he needs. Now would be a good time. Oh, looks like he's transitioning to a trap and roll. Doesn't get it. I would trap and roll to the other side because Josh is already hugging him on that side. Goes back to the kipping escape. Looks like his arm straight. Very good. A nice combination. Let's look at that again. So here. Goes to the trap and roll. Doesn't get it. Attempts it. Doesn't get it. Gets his hands back inside. Elbows in, and now he gets a little mini bump, and he uses that to kip his way into, what is it, the half, yeah, kind of a